May I ask a point of information then, Representative Slocum? Does that bill include the provision that it needs to be an approved early childhood program? So there's some oversight about affirming those that could receive those vouchers?
Back to the Loon bill.
Back to the Loon bill. Okay, this is a different, bill. This is for early childhood, and the bone of contention is the scholarships. So we're still working that back and forth. And I'm not sure how it'll
Okay,
come out.
different bill, different initiative?
There,
there?
yeah,
So
completely
the
different.
one that would provide vouchers is different than scholarships?
In this case, well, early childhood and K-12 are different budgets at this point. So, yes, in a sense, I guess, and we're still arguing and working out whether the scholarships will remain.
Okay, so when we're talking about the vouchers, that is the K-12 initiative,
the
and that's what
K-12
it got
initiative.
rolled into
Yes,
omnibus, so
the
thanks for that
K-12
clarification.
omnibus, Republican omnibus bill.
Any other comments about vouchers? Did you have any other questions, Director Bush? Okay. Tim, did you have?
Well, I'd like to shift to something maybe not as essential, but it also is something that involves Senator Michelle, because I see that you have authored the bill regarding the Labor Day start date. And,
Again.
but I didn't see there was an author yet or a bill in the House, and I wondered to what extent that initiative has legs. Bloomington has requested that flexibility in the past, has not received it. Again, it's not the most vital of all issues in terms of the kinds of things we're talking about with funding and programmatic emphases, but how do you see that going this year?
Yeah, I mean, my sense is, without committing everyone at the table, that most of us have supported that kind of mandate relief, that St. Paul shouldn't control the Bloomington calendar, that 201 legislators in St. Paul shouldn't decide when you should start. There's a number of what I'd call mandate relief bills, so they have more than just this Labor Day start issue. In the past, we've had AMSD and other groups of school administrators come forward with 50 or even 100 different individual mandates that they've said, can you back off on these for this budget cycle? Can you remove them forever? Can you repeal them? So I think the Labor Day start is one of those many, and I think you'll see them both, you'll see mandate relief in both the omnibus bills and also moving separately. And I'll keep pushing. Specifically,
The start date, how do
Yeah.
you see that?
You know, I'm not sure the dynamics have changed much on the start date. You've got, more typically the northern Minnesota or hospitality, tourism, and also the state fair folks who really want to wall off that time. But even in the past year, there was a group of school districts in southwest Minnesota that actually former Commissioner Segrin allowed them for a short term to start before Labor Day. So I just kind of think it's the future. We're not an agrarian economy anymore. If you look at school districts across the country and across the world, there's much more actual implementation of year-round schools, piloting different calendars and times, and I just think Bloomington and all the other school districts should have the ability, that flexibility to figure out there are things you can do with your calendar to improve student performance, and you should have the freedom to do that.
Okay, thank you.
He's right. I've given you a
Wow.
hard time. It is
Point of
floating
agreement.
around in lots of
Mark the
mandate
time that she
relief.
said.
You can quote me on that one issue.
That felt good, didn't it?
It did. It felt good. Kumbaya.
I have a question for you, Representative Slocum. Are you working on the bills that they have to do with the quality rating system for early childhood?
Yes and no. I've consulted with both Jennifer and Nora Slawick. Jennifer Loon and Nora Slavic, and, because they're the chief authors, and we've done quite a bit of talking about the early childhood bills. But what I have done and what I'm kind of excited about this session is we just dropped in the hopper a teacher evaluation bill that I co-authored with Representative Breinert from Mankato. And we've met with Kent Pickell, College Readiness stakeholders, Misty Sato at the university, a number of stakeholders about how you fairly evaluate teachers. And being a teacher, I feel like, yeah, we want to be accountable. We have no problem saying, yep, this is what we do. We do our best. We work extra hours. We do all these different things. But how do you prove accountability in a fair way? And we don't make widgets. These are little human beings with unique personalities and talents, and how do you measure success there? And it's a really difficult topic. And there's a lot of what I consider pretty punitive bills, and this is a bill that I think would build on the strengths of teachers and then help teachers who are struggling to get better at their practice and evaluate in a fair way, the carrot as opposed to the stick. And we just dropped it in, so it's policy. It'll get a hearing, and we have also worked directly with the governor's office, so I think we can get a signature, hopefully.
Okay, and that would have to do with early education, or is that
That's K-12.
K-12?
The early education one, the experts are Jennifer Loon and Nora Slawick. So,
yeah.
That's their area. The K-12 is more mine.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Superintendent?
I would. Internet connectivity, basic need, students, families, online learning, parent engagement, any kind of action going on there?
Yeah. There was a great bill I heard yesterday among the grad 2 in math, which I know, but they're on parent engagement. And this I think is particularly, something that Bloomington would benefit from. They're going to do some grants to engage parents more. This is a proven method to increase test scores, is if you've got the parents coming in and helping and doing different things. And schools meet during the times that most parents are at work, and it's a different dynamic today, and you have the diversity, so you have to involve different communities. And how do you do that? And how do you pull these parents in? And how do you make parents who didn't have a real great time at school want to come to school and do things? Conferences, whatever. I mean, I've had kids, I have a lot of students that come to we have Meet the Teacher Night, you guys do too. And it's really fun. The kids are all excited, and they come in, and they come with their parents. Except a number of kids come without their parents, because they want to meet their teacher, but their parents don't really want to be there. How do you bring the parents into the process so that they're comfortable and can support their kids and think school is a good place and can give the messages kids need to be successful in school? And this bill would do grants, and I would hope Bloomington would avail themselves if it becomes part of the bill. And it's a very exciting concept. They had different ways to engage parents with different populations. And I thought it was real cool. I liked it a lot.
So, just to follow up,
Yeah.
were you watching something more specific or hoping to hear?
Yeah, a whole
What are you?
policy to help families who live in poverty have internet access. I think it's the future.
Yeah, it is.
How do we connect?
Beyond K-12.
Beyond
this.
K-12, just everything, early childhood.
Right here,
This came up,
right here.
this came up a little bit earlier, and Les and my staff have been trying to find a way to do at least a pilot program or something like that in Bloomington that would allow it, but we have to have the local Wi-Fi, whatever it is, Wi-Fi developer cooperate, and it's hard to get them at the table to say, here's what we're looking to try to do. And we just want to be able to find out what it would cost, how would you organize a program that would allow folks in poverty run through the school district and evaluated through the school district, their families to get access to a very limited part of the internet that reflects on their education and their schooling. As we go to try to have more learning online and more classes and practice homework online, we have to make sure that everybody has access to that online. The Bloomington School District has extra computers that they'd be available for these students. It's just a matter of getting the company and the school to try to figure out how do you make this work that's fair to everybody. The city of Bloomington has given them the rights to have the Wi-Fi here, and it seems like a pretty small ask for that company, but it's not a major part of their business, and so there's no real, and it's not a profitable thing apparently, and so how do we get it to the point where they'll sit down at the table and negotiate with us over getting something started, I guess, on that. So.
Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. So on the subject of internet connectivity, and my colleagues will appreciate this, so I got home last night about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and my 9th grade daughter is in her room doing her homework, but I hear a male voice. I hear a male voice, and that is concerning to a overprotective dad. And so the door's cracked open, and what I quickly figure out is it's her math teacher with a lesson that she's downloading online. And so she's literally hearing him describe one of the problems, and then she pauses it, and then he'll talk again. But it made for a momentary heart attack, I think. So that's a bad use of internet connectivity.
Have you recovered?
I think I'm okay now. But that's not just the future, that's now. That's now.
Yeah, and Superintendent Fujitaki's got an iPad. That's the future. We ban these little goodies in school. Don't you dare bring that into school. Don't bring that into my class. They all have them. They're computers. They can text in their pockets. They're so skilled. And it's a whole different generation. I'm, plodding away on mine, but they can just use these little computers like crazy. And
Right.
the iPads are great, but you got to have the Wi-Fi going,
Yeah, I think we would say that there's so many 21st century skills that students need, and we hope that some students aren't left behind and left out of this process. We say that it's really important to have the ability to take online classes and have flexibility and personalized learning. But if we're leaving out a big segment of our population in being able to do that easily, that it sounds like there's some good ideas coming forward, and I hope that those progress. Any other questions Chuck?
This is probably the easiest question you've had all morning, but I think you're probably capable of giving us some sense of, from a standpoint of Senator Michelle, you mentioned that the budget is made up of basically 12 different categories in education. It's all important to us here this morning. Are there priorities assigned to from a timing sense? Because I got to be real honest with you, every year we're put behind a bigger 8 ball. We're doing things later and later, and we have employees that we have to serve, we have planning that we have to conduct, and we have, it's not good planning when you're operating off what-ifs and assumptions, and we would prefer, obviously, I can remember, I've only been on the board for 8 years, but it used to be the budget was, resolved for education early on. We're in a different world, I understand that, but do you have a sense, has education been assigned, number one, number two, from a sense of getting that done first? Or are we safe to assume that under the darkness of night in May that it could be passed at the last minute?
Well, I hope not, Chuck. Again, I think it's the closest, just numerically right now,